if the most successful environmental campaign in human history was actually a corporate lobbying operation, what else are we doing right now that's going to look exactly like this in 30 years? I said we just do this thing. You guys don't even know, but I've been sound checking all night. It's 10 o'clock p.m. That's right, 10 o'clock before I even press record. So I think we just do this thing, you know. Welcome in, welcome in. I'm a silly goose. We all know that, or some of you do, some of you don't. You're gonna know that probably by 5 minutes into the episode. Short and sweet. Just want to say thank you, guys. I made a vulnerable comment on somebody's stream, and it ended up getting me a lot of followers. And I actually did not expect that at all. I was really genuinely just being, very just vulnerable. Like I said, you know, I was commenting on Baron Coleman's podcast. Shout out Baron Coleman. Really good stuff every time the guy goes live. Oh, didn't mean to play the episode. I just wanted to pull up the comment. But dude, anyway, I just made a comment, and it might have changed my life. We'll see. It's definitely going to be the start of something hopefully good for me. But I've hit 100 subscribers. I'm at 114 right now at the time of this recording, which means by the time this actually goes out, it'll probably be higher, hopefully. But yeah, you know, just short and sweet. Wanted to kind of share a little bit about what's changed for me. I'll show you this little comment. This was me. I just said it 2 days ago. You know, I just said, you know, Baron, you, Candace, and Ian are why I'm a podcaster. I'm a literal nobody. But hopefully someday I'll be like you. Crazy. I need to edit this again because I said I woke up to another 20 subs. Dude, I woke up to 40 subs total, like today. As of right now, I have had more, I think it's like 38 subscribers. So, short and sweet, thank you very much. Just wanted to say that before we even get into tonight's episode. Tonight's episode is going to be a little bit of a break from the current events. Reason why is I kind of need to let it breathe a little bit. There's only so much you can cover every week, obviously. Shout out Candace Owens. She, I think, can cover a little bit more than all of us because she's got a team, right? Most of us are just one person, maybe two people. So right now I kind of got to let it breathe. I got to give myself some time to read more things, give myself some more time to watch more things. So I'm actually going to take a little bit of a break. This one's going to be a really good episode, though. Stay tuned on this. Don't be swiping away immediately. It's not about Charlie Kirk. It's not about Iran. It's not about Epstein. But this is still about a really big conspiracy I think we all grew up hearing about. If not, you might have been living under a rock. But great episode. I'm going to stop yapping. We'll get straight to the intro. Tonight's episode is about the myth of recycling. Okay. Now, you have a recycling bin in your kitchen. You sort your trash. You feel good about it, right? You probably think you're doing something even too. Now, here's what actually happens to most of what you put in that bin. It goes to a landfill. Not because the system broke down, not because of budget cuts, but because the companies that made the plastic knew in writing internally as the 1970s that recycling was, quote, unlikely to happen on a broad scale and, quote, economically infeasible. And then they spent $50 million a year telling you to recycle anyway. For those who are new, welcome in. For those who are not, you guys already know I come with a lot of sources. I think I'm getting to the point now where I'm going to have to start putting a pinned comment in there with the sources that I use, because last episode I actually couldn't put all my sources in. That kind of annoyed me, but I wanted to get all the episodes out. So, or the get all the content out. So I let it be as it were, if you will. But to those who are new, welcome in again. There's going to be a lot of links for those who really like to do this deep dive with me. I like to be as open source as possible, just for the sake of, well, I might get corrected on something. I might misinterpret something, or I might interpret it one way and you might come at it at a completely different angle, which is great. I totally welcome that. And speaking of which, I even got some good comments from some of the new viewers to the channel. I hope you guys. I took your advice straight to heart. I have water, right? We're not drinking mountain water. We're just drinking regular water, filtered, not distilled, filtered. And I fixed the headspace. What do we think? I think the headspace is good, right? I think I look good. Not to billions and billions. I didn't mean to do that, but anyway, the recycling label on the bottom of your yogurt cup that was invented by the plastics industry. It was lobbied into law in 36 states, and it was designed to make you think that plastic was recyclable when they already knew that it wasn't. Now, this is not a conspiracy theory. NPR investigated it. PBS investigated it. The industry's own internal documents are public. We're just going to read them together. So, I had a really killer little intro for it, and I kind of just steamrolled over it because I was excited about my little milestone. But to those who are here, man, I'm actually truly thankful for you guys. I really am, because you guys motivate me through dark days, truly. So, I'm Ethan Page. Let's turn the pages on this. Let's go through the script, for lack of better phrasing. I got a script, right? I got to stay on track here because I got the autism. So, chapter one. This is going to be NPR right out the gate, because I believe they're the ones who actually originally broke this story. They were the ones that really started to get the wheels turning on things. They wanted people to talk about it, if you will. But it wasn't just them, obviously. I think they were just one of the first ones. And the reason why, obviously, is because they are huge. Their scope is just ridiculous. They've covered everything from true crime to conspiracies to politics to public funding. I mean, everything, right? NPR is a great program. Some people may disagree with that, and that's totally fine. But I actually think NPR is a really good resource. Same with PBS. Now, we're going to pull up just a transcript. We're going to pull up a transcript of what's going on. You guys can read this entire thing as well as listen. So if you guys prefer to listen to these kinds of things, dude, this is right up your alley. It's an NPR podcast, if I remember right. I forget if it's a podcast episode or if it was just a news interview. But anyways, dude, one of the guests on the show says in 1953, the Vermont state legislature passed a ban on disposable glass bottles, and the packaging industry saw this one little law by this one little state as a serious threat. So they got together to form an organization called Keep America Beautiful. The other guy goes, yeah, I mean, it sounds very Keep America Beautiful. Like, what could be wrong with that? Now, I just wanted to share that briefly because, again, it's 35 minutes long. But talking about things at face value, they passed this law about 73 years ago. Coca-Cola, Dixie Cup, PepsiCo, American Can Company, and Owens, Illinois Glass, they get together to form that organization that's called Keep America Beautiful. Excuse me. No beer tonight, promise. Just had a little indigestion. Their mission, convince Americans that litter is an individual problem, not a corporate one. The goal was to stop regulations on single-use containers from spreading beyond Vermont. Now, Keep America Beautiful, right? What could be wrong with that? They named their corporate lobbying logo and mantra and everything, if you will, off of essentially America's emotions. Nothing is wrong with that, I'm sure. There's definitely no emotional manipulation going on, right? Now, I want to get into the crying Indian. And I know times have changed. It's 2026. Most people don't even say Indians unless they're actually speaking about somebody a little bit further east of us. But this is just what the thing is colloquially known as. So bear with me. Don't be flaming me in my comments. You guys get where we're going with that, okay? I think it's up next. Do I have it right here? Oh, I think I did a little bit out of order. Oh, I did because I had another link. Okay. So, I don't have that link ready to go. And the reason why I just read my notes, it's a minute long advertisement. I'm not sure if I can play that safely without getting into some issues with copyright. Last time I made a podcast that had some history into it, I posted literally 15 seconds of Lee Harvey Oswald and it got copywritten. So I'm trying to avoid that while, of course, I'm growing my channel and growing my intellect of this platform. Bear with me, but I will post the link of it in the description. So you guys will see that for yourself. It's a minute long. If you don't see it in the description, just let me know. It'll be there, but if it's also not there, just type in the Crying Indian ad. It'll show up. But to summarize, in 1971, Keep America Beautiful, they aired the Crying Indian commercial. This is, to summarize, an indigenous man in a canoe paddling through polluted water with a single tear rolling down his cheek. The tagline is basically, people start pollution, people can stop it. This became one of the most successful ad campaigns of all time. It was viewed an estimated 14 billion times. 14 billion times. This is before the internet, okay? That is the most watched piece of content in human history at the time. And it was a corporate ad designed to make you feel guilty for their pollution. Not yours, theirs. The ad was funded by Coca-Cola, again, PepsiCo, and the packaging companies. The people that were making the single-use containers polluting the water that was in the ad. The Crying Indian actor, this is where it gets funny. The Crying Indian actor, his name was Iron Eyes Cody. It was later revealed that he was actually of Italian-American descent. He was supposedly not even Native American. I say supposedly because, of course, with these genealogies, we find out everybody's always at least a little bit of something, right? So he probably had some Native American in him. But the overall determination was the guy was Italian. So they made a fake Native American cry about pollution that their companies created to make you feel personally responsible for it. And this worked for 50 years. Okay. Now, what did Keep America Beautiful actually do? They shifted the cultural conversation from corporate regulation to individual responsibility. They invented the concept of the litter bug. And that's what I want to get into right here. Okay. Let me get this other link out of the way. So what is a litter bug? Oh, shoot. It cuts off a little bit. What is a litter bug? This is from dogwoodalliance.org. The Keep America Beautiful campaign pushed the new idea of a litter bug. In 1947, a writer at the American Advertising Council created the term. A litter bug was someone who threw their trash in places other than trash cans. Keep America Beautiful said that litter bugs were the problem. This is the same ad council that went on to make public service announcements for Keep America Beautiful. The creation of the litter bug was used to shame people and to change behaviors. It also allowed consumers to feel okay about buying single-use packaging as long as they threw it in a trash can. Now, I want to go back up to that earlier statement where it says, the creation of the litter bug was used to shame people and to change behaviors. Where have we seen that before? We see that 16 years later, in 1963, with the creation of the term conspiracy theorist. Right? We all know that term. If you guys are watching this video, chances are you probably are one, right? Now, we all know that that term is really just used to sow dissent. It's really just used to throw you off the trail. Some people could use the term oversaturation, meaning, you know what that means. I don't need to explain what that is. But oversaturating the media with terms and false info and good info that's not related or bad info that is related, and you get where I'm going with it, right? Litter bug is one of those terms that was really just created for the sake of, you're the bad guy, not us. Don't ever question us. Please don't ever question us. Please don't ever question us. But in 1947, they didn't think that a guy named Ethan was going to have a MacBook Neo that has more processing power than what we landed on the moon with. And we did land on the moon. That's for another day, though. That's for another day. To keep it short and sweet, because I know you guys are going to wonder, I think we landed on the moon, but I think we did it in the 50s, off books, black budget, with technology that we got from Roswell. And that'll never be public. And I also can't really prove that. That's just my personal blend of conspiracy, if you will. So let me know in the comments below. When do you guys think we went on the moon? If we did. Do you think we went on the moon? If you don't, let me know. So yeah, they created this term before the KAB, which is funny, similar to KGB, right? Before the KAB, companies paid to take back and clean their own containers. It was their legal responsibility. After this campaign, this cost was transferred to municipalities, meaning the taxpayers. So, one lobbying campaign shifted the cost of dealing with corporate waste from the corporations to you and to me. And we were so busy feeling guilty about littering that we didn't notice. Fast forward a little bit. That's from 1947. I remember being in high school. You were the asshole if you were littering. And look, I wasn't exactly looking to litter either. Actually, I oftentimes picked up litter if I saw it. But where I'm going with that is they made you sound like if you weren't an active tree hugger, you were a Nazi, right? So that ad campaign worked for 60 plus years. And it probably still works right now because we all know that there's not a lot of people talking about this besides the people that tune into the radio. I mean, that was NPR that broke the story, right? Radio has been dead for probably 20 years, which... no shade. Again, I started this whole monologue by stating that I love NPR, but you see where I'm going with this. Don't let me ramble. If I ever ramble, just tell me when and where I did it, and I'll try to be better at it. You know what I mean? Oh, so that was the end of chapter 1. Let's go into chapter 2 a little bit. This is personally my favorite in the entire episode. This is the recycling symbol is a lie chapter. And this one I actually learned so much about while I was doing the research for it. I was sharing with my wife. We were playing with my daughter down over here. You can't see it, but this whole side of the room goes out like another 7 feet, probably 6 feet. So kiddo was playing down here, and wife and I were talking about the episode while I was hammering away with the research. There is so much stuff in this next topic that most people will just not like. I have no other way to state that than that, right? So to summarize the intro set for the data here, in 1988, the Society of the Plastics Industry introduces the numbered recycling symbol 1 through 7 inside the chasing arrows. Now, why did they make a fraternity to gaslight the public? I just want to have that live little question right there. We're going to come back to that. But again, their name is called the Society of the Plastics Industry. That reads like a fraternity. And then plastics industry reads like, well, I don't want to say big plastic, but big plastic. It sounds like a fraternity for the big plastic industry. That's... we all know about secret societies and why they're not good. So, I'm just going to pull up this live beat real quick so you guys can see this. Put a face to the name. For those who don't, I always point the opposite direction because my stream's backwards. But for those who don't know what these look like in real life, that's all they look like. And you guys all know what they look like. But to jog your memory a little bit, they all have different designations, which we'll get into a little bit later. But just to kind of get that whole, that's what we're talking about. Okay, so that was 1 through 7. This was done 40 years ago, roughly. Now let's go into what CBS has to say about the situation. Again, all links will be in the description. If I miss any of them, I'm going to start pinning my comments. What I've learned from the bigger guys out there is that's all they do. They just pin their own comment and they call it a day. So I'm going to take a little cookie out of their jar, if you will, and just try to learn a little bit. There we go. So, CBS News, states take aim at ubiquitous chasing arrow symbol on products that aren't recycled. This article is going to go into a very deep dive about it, but to summarize some of the keynotes, the symbol was not created by environmentalists. It was created by the plastics industry, which I kind of talked about a little bit above. Excuse me. A little bit below in this article, it's going to talk about how California, ironically, they're going to be the ones that actually spearhead the change on this. The greenest state of all is going to be the one that actually says, now, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. What happened there? Got to take my notes whenever there's a hiccup. Come on. All right. That sucks. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my camera. Long story short, I'm on the MacBook Neo. It only handles so much juice, so I plug in the phone Bluetooth. I don't actually plug it in at all. I don't know why I said plug in. Kind of dumb there, right? Kind of dumb. Anyways, MacBook Neo only handles so much processing power. So I have my one screen to do my notes and my goodies, and I have my one screen to share and talk about things with you. This has to be digital. This thing's plugged in. Or not digital, Bluetooth. And this thing's plugged in. But long story short, sometimes the Bluetooth don't be Bluetoothing. Sometimes it's like a purple tooth. So bear with me. I am only a one-man band in the land. Okay. All right. So this is the article. I want you guys to actually read into this one a little bit more. There was something in here, I think. There it is. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about. So nearly 40 states over time adopted this. Now only 36 does or do. So it looks like 4 states have gotten rid of it, which is okay. But we need to get way further down this end of the spectrum. And hopefully with episodes like this, people will start talking about it a little bit more. It's called a resin identification code, and it basically just identifies what type of plastic something is made out of. That's it. That's really it. This, the whole thing I showed you guys earlier with the chasing arrow symbol, that was never meant for you and I. That was meant for internal use only, to designate what type of material something is made out of. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. But before we do, I want to get into how the industry actually immediately knew that this was causing confusion and was being misappropriated and misrepresented. This was, hold on, what did I say? There it is. So this was designed on purpose. A 1993 internal report was given to top industry officials, and it said bluntly, quote, "The code is being misused. Companies are using it as a green marketing tool." The same report said the symbol was creating unrealistic expectations about what plastic could be recycled. They knew in 1993, and they kept the symbol anyway. Larry Thomas, former president of the Society of Plastics Industry, admitted to NPR, again, the company that broke this, quote, "If the public thinks that recycling is working, then they are not going to be as concerned about the environment." Now, the industry's own former president told NPR the recycling campaign existed to make you not worry about plastic. That is the admission. That is from the man who ran the organization on the record. Before we get into it, a little side note here. I went to school from the early 2000s to the mid 2010s. I'm just old enough to see 9/11 as something that I remember from my childhood, and just young enough where I can say, hopefully, this stops with our generation, right? But I went to school from the early 2000s to the mid 2010s. I distinctly remember the chasing arrows going even further in my school curriculum. I got the reduce, reuse, recycle campaign, right? I'm sure you do, or you did, or if not, your kids did, or still are. Hopefully not, but maybe they are. Maybe they're currently being brainwashed right now. I still remember drawing things about it in 3rd grade. That's almost 20 years after this admission went out to NPR, okay? Because again, that happened in 1993. Now, here's what the actual symbols specifically mean. I'm going to show you this on screen share, and hopefully it comes up nice and pretty. The one on the very far right of this screen, again, I'm always doing it backwards. The one on the very far right of this screen, the light green one, that one just says other, which I'll show you in a bit, but so that way you're not wondering what the heck it is. It's just other. Now, number 1 and number 2, these are PETs and HDPEs, which are basically polyethylene. Oh, that's a good second one. Terephthalate and high density polyethylene. Okay. These are the ones that are actually recyclable. I want you guys to think these are the soda bottles, milk jugs. It's about 29% of these are what gets recycled. So of the things that are actually recyclable, 71% don't. Now you know. Number 3, this is PVC. You guys know what that is. I'm not going to explain what that is. For those who never knew what the acronym stands for, it's polyvinyl chloride. That's all it is. And now that I said what that is out loud, you know that's not safe. Okay? Yet it contains a lot of things. So PVC almost never gets recycled. It contaminates other streams, and it's linked to carcinogens. Now, I don't want everybody getting in the chat, by the way, going off into the deep end about what this is and that is, and etc., right? Focusing on a high-level overview. If you guys want to go deeper level or microscopic, feel free. But this is just what these mean at face value, right? We got a lot of stuff to go over, of course. Number 4, or excuse me, number 4 is the LDPE. That's low density polyethylene. That is things like plastic bags. Now, this stuff jams sorting equipment. So it's almost always not only not recycled, but it's also declined, right? If you guys have a recycling bin at your house, you guys already know 2 things. If you live on the West Coast, you don't even have plastic bags because they banned them. And for the states that do have plastic bags, most of your guys' municipalities will typically regulate it. They'll say, hey, we don't prefer it, or they'll make you put it in, they'll make you take all of your bags, put them in one, and take it down to a local center. You guys get where I'm going with it. They usually regulate that one a little bit. And that's why. It's because it jams sorting equipment. It's not necessarily because of anything deeper than that. They could fix this problem. They're just electing not to, and they want to blame you for the problem to begin with. This is my one hippy dippy hug a tree moment for the day. Now, most curbside programs won't take it. So like your city waste management, they're not going to take it. Some private companies might do it, but that's about it, dude. That's like literally about it. Now, number 5, this is polypropylene. This is like the cousin of what's in vape juice. No lie. And I know that because I actually used to make vape juice. So spare me the microscopic underview. Propylene glycol, which is the liquid form of essentially this is what's in your vape juice. And again, high level overview there. I know they're not actually related. Chemically speaking, they are very much different, but also chemically speaking, they're like second cousins. I'm not trying to vape on the second cousin of plastic. That's why I stopped vaping. You guys see me on my episodes. Occasionally I'll have a cigar. I don't do any, I don't do any dip. I don't do none of that. My lip got dry. I don't do dip. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't vape. I don't do none of that. Occasionally I have a cigar. Once I learned more about the vaping industry, I got really scared. My own doctor told me stop that. She said, I'd rather have you smoke cigarettes than nicotine byproducts or whatever you want to call it, side products. Is that a good term? She said, stop doing that shit because I don't know how to treat it. I said, Roger that, dude. That's enough for me. That scared the hell out of me. She said, if you smoke cigarettes and nicotine, I at least know what to prescribe you. Or not prescribe you, but, diet and exercise your ass, right? She gave me that spiel. And ever since then, I don't vape. My golf buddies might hit me in the chat and say, hey, that's a lie. On the golf course, I definitely hit the vape. because come on, you kind of you get a little hand to mouth on the golf course. You just get a little, I don't know, antsy. Where was that? Was that number 5? Yeah, probably propylene. I didn't even talk about what that was. So these are yogurt cups and chip bags. Mini recyclers still won't take it, right? Yogurt cups. Ladies, how many yo plays have you had this week? Me personally, by the way, what's your favorite yogurt? I've really been liking the Tillamook vanilla bean. I really like the Tillamook vanilla bean because you can add your own stuffs to it. Sometimes I put a little gluten-free Oreo in there. Sometimes I just take it like it is, take it raw. But anyways, we all have a little bit of guilt on that number 5. Yogurt cups, plastic bags, some coffee cups are lined with it, like the single-use coffee cups that you take on the go they're cardboard, but they don't get hot. Fuck, I can't think right now, but you know what I'm trying to say. They're lined with that stuff. So the outside is cardboard, but the inside is this plastic that's not recyclable. That's not a good thing. Now we have number 6, which is polystyrene, which is styrofoam. That's essentially non-recyclable. And not only is it non-recyclable, you can make war crimes with it. And that's all I'm going to say on the podcast. Because I don't want the FBI showing up at my house because I know this. You guys can get to Googling if you want to find out more. But styrofoam can definitely be associated with a war crime. It's not recyclable at all. This makes up 35% of the United States landfill material at current. Of course, it may fluctuate more or less, but at current. Now, the last one, of course, is number 7. Can I move this over to the right just so you can see it a little bit? It just says other. And yeah, that's that 5-gallon jug when people have those big water containers at their house, which is fine. I actually think that's a great idea if you don't have access to clean water. Dude, do whatever the heck you can do. I'm not going to be a Billie Eilish, okay? I'm not going to look down my nose at people and tell you if you're not vegan, you're a piece of shit. I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is have exposés that talk about who's really complicit in this issue. And it's not me and you because we like our cows still mooing when it's coming off the steak. Amen? Gosh. If you like a well-done steak, please unsubscribe from my channel. Actually, no. I need the viewers. If you like well-done steak, stay here. Come on in. No, I'm not here to slander nobody. Golly. But it's not our fault. We didn't invent the single-use plastic industry. We didn't force all of our products to be made with it. We didn't make landfills. We didn't under-regulate everything. In fact, most times humans have voted to regulate things because we know what happens when we don't, right? So for just all intents and purposes, you and I are not the problem. We're not. But we're told every day that we are. And I wonder, when do we get pushed to the edge and we just say, all right, I'm done, dude, right? Like, I'm done. Because I'm kind of... That's why I have a podcast, dude, because I'm trying to go the peaceful route. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Let's just say this. I'm a military-aged male with a lot of testosterone left in me, and I am very tired about what I read every day, like the Disney cruise ships. You guys have seen that on TikTok. I'm sure of it. Like Barron says, it's a high IQ outfit, right? Anybody that's here is already seeing a lot of the things that we talk about. But short and sweet, 10 seconds. Disney cruise ships just got busted with a high sting operation, busting dozens of people in child crimes. It was a sting making videos of kids, man. Okay. It's getting real hard to go the peaceful route on this topic anymore, but I'm trying, right? And we're all trying. Lord knows we're trying. We're trying to just do our part, you know? But that's the summary. I didn't mean to ramble. That's the summary. Number 1 through number 7. Out of all of those things, 2 of these things are recyclable. I mean, I just showed it to you. 2 of these things are recyclable. The other 5 have that same symbol on them, though, saying that it's recyclable. And you see it right here. I mean, this is literally what it looks like. If you look on, I mean, shoot, I have my Apple. Oh, duh, because it's in California. They stopped doing this. So here's actually a really cool example. So in California, it says, please recycle this box because it's cardboard. There's no plastic on it at all. There's no plastic inside of it. Well, Scout's honor, there is, but it's not connected to the box. It's individualized, right? California has actually fixed this issue, which says a lot because that's literally where Silicon Valley is. That's where the tech industry is. That's where a lot of the single-use plastic industry is literally emanating from. Emanating, that's the word of the day. Good word. But they're trying to fix it. And nobody wants to talk about that, but we probably should. You know, that's a good thing. I don't like California a whole lot. I think they've gone a long way, but the right way, to make a pun. But that's a really good thing. That's a really good thing. Actually, I think we should all be doing that. Same arrows, though, right? Same arrows, same triangle, different fate. Oh, I lost my spot. I'm so sorry. You've been sorting your trash for 30 years, right? Rinsing out your containers, feeling virtuous. And for most of it, especially anything that isn't a soda bottle or a milk jug, you could have just thrown it in a regular bin. The result would have been identical. Hate to say it. Now, the industry lobbied all of this kind of stuff into law. And that's just things that we're going to have to reconcile with. I'm going to pull up a company called Just Zero. I haven't read a whole lot about them, but they're kind of more moderate news angle, I believe. They're just about the news, which is good. We need more of it. They might be a little bit left, but that's fine. This is about the hidden truth of the plastics industry. How much of that is cut off? I can see it on the side. Okay, we can read the majority of it. That's perfect. So, a little quote from Just Zero about how the plastic industry corrupted the chasing arrow symbol. Quote, problematically, the resin number is located inside the chasing arrow symbol, and that's not a coincidence. To sell the lie, the plastic industry lobbied state lawmakers to mandate that resin numbers appear within, I overemphasized that. To mandate that resin numbers appear within the chasing arrow symbol on all plastic products. This labeling is currently required in those 36 states, which I discussed already. And if you want, I'm pretty sure we can pull that up so you can see who's in this. Oh, well, never mind. That's just a survey. Goodness. Don't you love when you're on an article and it hyperlinks something and you think it's going to be like the exact thing that it says it's going to be and it never is? There's an example of that live right there. Boom. Right. No big deal. If you guys want to, that's a simple Google search. 36 states that require the SPI, digital code on their thing. Right. Now, this led to confusion for everybody. This even led to confusion for people that worked within waste management. Now, I personally don't know anybody that works within the recycling industry. But please, if you do, or if you are, tell me your testimony. I'm so curious about what goes on the inside of these things. Okay? Because the plastics industry quietly lobbied, originally, the whole country. They got 40 states to go along with it. Now it's 36, right? They lobbied nearly 40 states to pass laws requiring the chasing arrow symbol on every plastic product. Environmental groups were not even consulted. Many actively opposed the symbol. But yet these 36 states still require it. Even though it doesn't even indicate recyclability. 68% of Americans, that was from this other Just Zero. Go back to that. 68% of Americans believe that any product with the symbol is recyclable. I'm so sorry. I actually didn't. I mislinked that. That's actually from Consumer Brands Association survey. My apologies. It wasn't hyperlinked on my notes. Scout's honor there. So per Consumer Brands Association survey, 68% believe that any product is recyclable. To reiterate that point there, California, again, was the first state to lead this charge against it, ironically, but correctly enough. Now, the industry lobbied these state legislatures to mandate a symbol that they knew was causing consumer confusion because that confusion was, quote, good for business. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is just a lobbying strategy that has a paper trail. A lot of you guys are fresh from my last podcast episode because it just came out literally only 2 days ago, and I'm already filming this next one. There's paper trails for virtually everything, even when you think there's not, even when you think that you're doing the dark money, even when you say, oh, I have crypto, it's not traceable. Dude, it actually is. I can't do it, but there are people out there that can, right? There's always somebody out there that's smarter than you and I, which so eloquently was actually told to me by somebody on my last episode. And I really appreciate that note because, like I said in that comment, and I'll reiterate it again here, I've sadly gotten used to sometimes being the storyteller in a situation that is the smarter one in the conversation. Not in the room, just in the conversation, right? Oftentimes I find myself answering people's questions, not asking them, right? Which is fine. But as somebody perfectly stated on my last episode, Make Asylums Great Again, which is a beautiful username, by the way, fully in agreement with it. It basically just said if people are coming to your episode, they're going to be the high intelligence type individuals that I'm kind of talking to, right? So a great example of that. I really appreciated that note because it smacked me in my face in the right way. I realized that I don't need to over-explain everything. I can kind of just cut to the chase and let my links speak for me and summarize the facts because a lot of you guys don't have 6 to 10 hours a week to deep dive into a topic, or some of y'all don't even have an hour, according to my watch time. No, I'm just kidding. I know how that game works. I throw on a podcast. I'll watch 30 minutes every day or 40 minutes every day until it's done. That's usually how it is. Especially for folks that don't have long commutes, right? You put on what you can put on. Okay. Now, this is chapter 3. Enough of my ramble. This is chapter 3. This is about Operation National Sword. This is the moment that it all collapsed, guys. Now, we're going to pull up. Did I get the right one? Yes. I'm pulling up Yale E360. Article name called Piling Up, How China's Ban Stalled Global Recycling. Here's some notes before we get into the quote. For 25 years, the dirty secret of Americans' recycling was this. We were shipping it to China. China processed nearly half of the world's waste, including most of our plastic. On January 1st, 2018, they implemented Operation National Sword, which basically banned most of the plastics and paper coming into the country, imposing a 0.5% contamination on anything else. We'll get into the Wikipedia on that a little bit more here in a moment, but I want to get here into this. A direct quote from Yale University's article. Prior to China's ban, 95% of the plastics collected in the European Union and 70% in the U.S. were sold and shipped to Chinese processors. So, putting that another way, the vast majority of 2 continents worth of recycling, roughly 2 continents, as we know, Canada's not very populated, right? And we overpopulate, not Russia. Yes, Russia. But we overpopulate Mexico by a large margin as well. We'll just say 2 continents worth of plastic was sent to one place to take care of, okay? Just think about that while I finish this. There, they were turned into forms to be repurposed by plastic manufacturers. Favorable rates for shipping and cargo vessels that carried Chinese consumer goods abroad and would otherwise return to China empty, coupled with the country's low labor costs and high demand for recycled materials, made this practice profitable. 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 I didn't mean to put that one up. Sorry. Profitable. Gonna keep saying that word. Profitable. 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 Now, don't be getting all communist in me in the chat. Capitalism is still better than any other system designed to date, but we might need to start designing some things again, boys. I'm tired of the word profitable because it's why human trafficking exists, right? The only reason this type of stuff exists is because they found a way to make money doing it. The most horrific things in society are almost unanimously associated with money, with fiscality, right? With finance. And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of that. Right? We don't need to do the whole communist route. But let's go back towards the middle of things a little bit. Can we get a little bit more holding big people accountable? Can we get a little bit more waste and fraud management? Can we get a little bit more? Actually, can we get a little bit less bullying and gaslighting of the American and global people and shit politicians? And you get where I'm going with that one, but we need that. We need real change, and we need it now because I really fear. A little monologue sidebar, I'm sorry, but I really fear. Goodness, my nose is tickling. I really fear that if we don't get the appropriate change soon, like soon, things are going to get crazy. If you guys if you guys are on Twitter or if you guys are on the right side of TikTok, because, it's a dancing app, right? So if you're not on the right side of it, you might not see everything. But if you're on the right side of TikTok, the right side of Twitter, man, a lot of countries are rioting over the Epstein files. Entire governments are not shutting down, but they're doing full-fledged full-fledged investigations on who's involved, when, where, why, and for what purpose. France just did this is actually back in like March, maybe February, but they just did a beautiful shirtless protest where the ladies were writing names of Epstein clients on their breasts and then I think victims on their abdomen or something like that. It was a beautiful, very poetic protest because it forced you to look at their bodies and anyway, beautiful protest. Beautiful protest. And you can always count on France to have the most artistic expression with their protest, right? Now, not here to glaze them too much because France is kind of the homeland of all of that crap, but it was a beautiful protest. We got to take our wins where they are, right? I mean, right. So going up into Wikipedia just a tiny bit, before we go on to the next one. Oh, shoot. I just thought I was sharing my screen. This is on Wikipedia, which I already said. I'm so stupid. I need to stop repeating myself. A little bit of background here. China was the number one, or excuse me, actually is. They are the largest importer of waste plastics, accounting for 56% of the global market. Meanwhile, That's what I wanted to discuss. Meanwhile, the United States, Japan, and Germany, as well as the United Kingdom, are the main source countries. I bring that up for just a succinct but poignant purpose. We always like to say that China is the bad guy with the waste and the pollution. What if? What if they are, but you guys thought I was going to say they're not. What if they are, but it's not their waste? It's our waste. And we're literally dumping it on them and saying, fix it, burn it, make napalm with it, burn it. Whoa. You said that last one. Burn it. Maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle. I'm at the point now where I literally don't believe anything that comes out. And if you guys are with me 51 minutes in, you guys are getting the real. I'm really, really considering the possibility that Candace Owens might be controlled opposition. And we'll get into that later because I don't want to talk for another hour on just a monologue alone. I will. But there's just some weird things about her lately that are kind of not passing the sniff test for me. And I even commented some things. I mean, literally, oh shoot, I took it on my phone so I can't show it on the stream tonight or on the video tonight. Shoot. Man. You know what? I could probably just pull it up on YouTube. But I told her 5 months ago, right after she met Erica Kirk, I said, you can't spend the last year teaching us how to spot a psyop and then get mad when we don't follow along. It was a banger little statement. But dude, the short and sweet of it is she's moving super weird, man. She's moving super weird. I don't trust anything that anybody says anymore. I really don't. Some people might think that Charlie Kirk is alive in witness protection. I don't know, but I read a really good theory that made me go back to this video that I commented on. And I'll show you my... You guys are absolutely wow. The amount of people who attack. That's how it always is. It's loud when I don't want it to be. My one thing I said, and then this is it. I'm not going to talk about it too much right now because I got to do more research. If I'm going to make a claim, I got to do research, right? But I commented, I said, loving that all the comments, no, this doesn't pass the sniff test. Candace, come on. You can't spend a year teaching us how to identify a psyop and then try to sell us one. Then I said, edit to add, as somebody who's watched hundreds of hours of your shows, you don't say or ever. Then I even complimented her. I said, it's one of your most admirable qualities. However, you did several times this episode. What I didn't consider was how happy she was.
Okay, everybody, Shabbat Shalom. I just want to say Shabbat Shalom to everybody back at home. Happy Hanukkah to our greatest friends and allies. And, this is a good time to mention that Israel does have a right to defend itself. Tucker Carlson is Adolf Hitler. And TikTok does need to be purchased by the Mossad. It's just how I'm feeling today. I am not different. Maybe you are different. Welcome back to Candace.
Now, anyways, I'm not going to go deeper in that, but weird. I got to do more research. But there's a really good conspiracy theory, if you will, about Charlie Kirk, special effects in Hollywood, Erica, Candace, Laura Loomer. I mean, dude, it gets deep. I don't know. But I'm keeping Candace Owens at arm's length right now. I trust the independent journalist, but I'm wondering if I'm wondering if Candace got the call. Whether or not I believe in the conspiracy that Charlie is alive or not, different topic. For those who have been following my podcast for a while, small sliver of you, sometimes on this channel, I actually don't believe in the conspiracy that I go over. I just go over it. You know what I mean? I'm just talking about it. And I might do that with Candace, and I might do that with the Charlie Kirk maybe alive theory. Because I don't have enough evidence for it. Got a lot of evidence against it, but it's a fun little diddle daddle anyway, I would say. It's a fun little dilly dally, right? So we'll go into that, but that was really just what I wanted to say. To reiterate our last point on China before we go on to the next one, the contamination limit was so strict for what we sent over there that most of our stuff didn't qualify after that ban went through. So our entire recycling system, reminder, 70% of plastic went to China. This was built on the assumption that China would keep buying. It collapsed overnight on New Year 2018, right? New Year 2018. Now, I want to reference real quick Columbia Climate School, their article called their article. Where is it at? I'm sorry. That's it. I think their domain name is different. Sorry. Columbia Climate School, recycling in the U.S. is broken. Okay. Same thing. I did not have this hyperlinked when I was ready for it. Oh, shoot. That's okay. That's okay. I wrote my notes down. So this is why I always do that, right? Because you never know when you're going to make a mistake when you go over things. And I'd rather record one video and just edit it a bunch of times, cut out all the crap, than make 4 videos and splice them together. That's always been hard for me. You know what I mean? Because you got to make sure this sounds right again. You got to make sure that's angled right again. You got to make sure these are looking good again. It's just a mess. I'd rather do it once and chop it. Chop suey, baby. So, Columbia Climate School, quick facts. In Stamford, Connecticut, that's M like Mary, not Stanford. Stamford, Connecticut. In 2017, they made $95,000 selling recyclables. In 2018, it had to pay $700,000 to have them removed. In Bakersfield, California, they earned $65 a ton from recyclables. After 2018, they paid $25 a ton to get rid of them. In Franklin, New Hampshire, they sold recyclables for $6 a ton. After, they paid $125 to recycle or $68 to incinerate. Over 70 municipalities ended curbside recycling programs entirely. The U.S. then shipped its public... I can't read tonight. I need the glasses, which is funny because I don't use these when I'm reading close. But where was that at? Goodness gracious. The U.S. then shipped its plastic waste, not public waste. Plastic, not poop. They shipped their plastic waste to Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia, Bangladesh, Ghana, Laos, Ethiopia, Kenya, and Senegal. Now, I'm just going to say kind of the quieter part out loud. A lot of those places are third world countries. Actually, I think all but one are. I think Thailand is a developing nation, but all of these other places are third world countries, guys. We are literally offloading our overconsumption onto countries that are just trying to develop. We're telling them to deal with it. We're making them foot our bill. I'm not okay with that kind of thing, you know? And I say that with the $600 Apple laptop. I know. There's only so much I individually can do, right? But that's why I believe in education. That's why I believe in advocation. That's why I believe in masturbation. No, sorry. Got off topic there a little bit. No, I believe in things very passionately though. I really think we're on a precipice, and if we don't figure this out, I mean, guys, I really do think we're going to be in history books in 60 years. Not me personally, but just our generation. This is going to be in the history books. Okay, 99% invisible. That's the next website we're going to go to. This one is an episode of somebody else's podcast, which is pretty cool. This is produced by Avery Trufelman. This is a full podcast, or I don't know if it's actually a podcast or like a documentary. How would I describe that? It says episodes, so I would say podcast. But the 99% Invisible podcast, they go over a lot of things. I've only seen them for this one thing, so I don't want to give them a descriptor of who they are. You know, if you want to find out more for yourself, please just do that on your own, you know. But for this one thing, they covered a little bit more about where recycling goes, like physically. Now, in their podcast, they were able to estimate from experts that 20 to 70%, which I know, huge variance, but before that, we didn't even know, right? 20 to 70% of plastic intended for recycling overseas is unusable, which means it's ultimately discarded. That's it. They just landfill it. They don't even attempt to do anything with it. They don't try to upscale it, or they don't try to upcycle it. They don't try to reduce, reuse, none of that. They just yeet it. Okay. One study found that exported plastic waste to Southeast Asia can cause contaminated water, crop death, respiratory illness, and organized crime. Literally. We couldn't recycle our plastic, so we shipped it to countries with cheap labor and lax environmental laws. That's the actual phrase used in reporting, by the way. We outsourced our environmental guilt to the developing world and called it recycling. And better yet, you'll have a bunch of 20-something-year-olds telling you that you're an idiot if you don't do it, or you're the bad guy. No, I don't think that's the case. Because, see, morality is subjective. They say. I personally don't think it's subjective. If you harm a child, that's objectively evil. That's just me. But we live in a world where that's not the case. For example, let me pull up. Hello. This guy right here, just short and sweet. Here's some news, right? News. Mason Hole, 18-year-old TikTok influencer, was arrested on 15 felony counts of possessing child sexual abuse material. Bro, his followers went up. Yeah. So don't tell me that morality is subjective. Morality is not subjective at all, actually. Morality is incredibly objective. The problem is there's too many fucking people on this planet that don't live moral lives. And I had to put some French on it. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do better on the cursing because I know that'll get me further. You know, a better stream that's a more mature stream does way better than a guy who's cussing all day long. It's just, there's no need for me to be belligerent. There's not. I'm a young homeowner in my 20s. I'm not a belligerent man, right? I'm very clean. I should come off that way. But, there's a lot of fucking people that don't live moral lives. And they're the ones that say morality is subjective. Because what Mason did, this guy did, hello. I read some of the things that he was looking up and had on his phone. He had videos of kids. He had videos of penetrative abuse, and his followers went up. That's all I'm going to say, dude. I don't want to go over it because I'm a dad now. That type of shit gets me a lot more emotional than it did before I was a dad. You know what I mean? Like, I might be 6 foot tall. I might be hairy. I might have hair on my freaking shoulders. I might be you-ish, you know? But I'm emotionally available as a man. I cried, you know? And his followers went up, dude. I can't, dude. All right. So the recycling system was never built to actually work here, by the way. It was built upon a customer, and that customer was China. The problem is they stopped buying. No big deal. We got to go find a new customer. And when they stopped, municipalities that had been operating on the assumption that recycling was profitable suddenly found out that the whole thing was a subsidy operation running on somebody else's labor. And for us critical thinkers, we already thought that anyway. Let's just be so transparent, right? I mean, you're taking somebody's trash, cleaning it, melting it, reusing it, redoing it, and redistributing it, selling it on things often cheaper than the original thing that it came on, and you're saying that it comes at a profit. Dude, there's no way that translates. There's no way that translates. I'm sorry, it just does not. That makes more sense. It was a subsidy operation running on somebody else's labor. Still is, but at least China got off the dime, right? At least they got off the dime. Now I'm going to pull up a CNN article, which is how you know. That's how you know I'm not a MAGA. How you know I'm not a MAGA conservative. I am just a guy that likes guns on weekdays and mushrooms on the weekends, right? Cheers. I'm kidding, by the way. I'm just trying to identify as somebody more middle road. CNN. They got a really good opinion piece here. I'm going to spare more of the opinion stuff and keep it on the facts that they present because CNN sometimes is really good at that. Sometimes they are really good at giving us the factual data. So, globally, only 9% of the plastic that we have ever produced has been recycled. That is 1 out of 11. 1 out of 11 plastic bottles you've ever drank has been recycled. The other 91% has ended up in landfills or incinerated or scattered throughout the environment, including in huge floating islands that we've all heard of in the ocean, partly composed of plastic byproducts from the manufacturing process. So there we go. And I like this because this is where their opinion's nice. It says, but we're not in this situation because you could have done a better job. When the plastic industry was going around helping set up new recycling programs, it convinced local officials that they should accept every kind of plastic in their bins. Even the ones the plastic industry knew would never be recycled, which we covered earlier. So we don't need to beat a dead horse. But 6 times more, it goes on later in the article to say this, 6 times more plastic waste is burned than recycled. Virgin plastic, which kind of self-explanatory, but just means non-recycled plastic, first-time use. Virgin plastic is actually now cheaper than recycled plastic because of the natural gas boom. The CEO of Recology wrote in 2018, the simple fact is, there is just too much plastic and too many different types of plastics being produced. And there exist few, if any, viable end markets for the material. Excellent. Chapter 4. What they knew and when. Okay. Did I do the right thing? Okay, so we're going to pull up the nonprofit newsfeed. I really like this one. I read this whole article Whereas other ones I actually kind of perused a little bit this time because, again, hey, Scout's Honor. The last episode came out 2 days ago. I'm already filming another hour and a half long episode as we speak. 70 minutes in as we're going, right? So let me be. Let me be. I didn't feel too good this weekend. I didn't even go to church this weekend. I should have, but I didn't get to. I've been feeling phlegmy. Okay, now let me pull up these guys. I wanted to go up top. That's a heck of a tag, bud. You gotta fix that thummy. So, nonprofit news feed, a quick corporate history of plastic recycling in the U.S. This is great. They do need to fix their header, and I dealt with that problem on my own website for a long time, but they need to fix their own header. Nonprofit news feed, if you see this, let me know. I can actually help you fix this myself because I ran into this problem for a freaking hour and a half with my own page. And it was such a pain in the butt. You just got to fix your height, dude. Got to fix your height. Okay, so 1989. Let me scroll down actually, because they have a beautiful timeline here, and that's why I read this whole thing because it's so easily stated. They even have the crying Indian commercial, so you can literally, just go to this link. It has everything that you're gonna want. And again, nonprofit news feed. If you guys have any money to donate, this is probably the link from tonight's episode that if you got a buck or two, toss it to these guys because they're the ones that are giving you some news. Don't toss it to me. I'm just a dumbass yapping on YouTube. When I get big enough, I'll start asking for money. But right now, just a dumbass yapping on YouTube. If you got a buck, give it over to nonprofit news feed. Great little company over there, and they made this beautifully, right? I can just hop on a mic and talk to you. I'm not an author. I'm not a website designer. I made a joke earlier, but the website I made, I actually did it with AI, and it was really easy. This is a whole other thing. Like they got a podcast, resources, about section. I'm just making cleaning products so your kids don't choke. Nothing crazy there. But these guys are a really cool company. So in the 70s, they had that commercial, but in the 80s, this is where everything starts to take that turn. Talked about it a little bit earlier, but going back to it so we can just kind of get those high-level overview points drummed back into a timeline, if you will. In 1989, the Society of Plastics Industry president convenes executives from Exxon, Dow, DuPont, and Procter & Gamble to address plastics deteriorating public image. Their documented solution was to, quote, advertise our way out of it through recycling campaigns. Oh, thought that was the second line. In 1990, the industry launches a $50 million per year public relations campaign, including Plastics Make It Possible, touting recycling as the answer. No, thank you. Industry documents from the 1970s, which is already at the top, already knew that recycling would not happen. It's right here. Oh, is it right here? I might have been on a different article link I had. Nope, I actually don't think it was there. I wrote my notes wrong. That was on a different link. But the industry documents that I did discuss earlier discussed that exact thing when they said that they knew that it would not happen on a broad scale. If you remember that quote from earlier. They knew in the 70s they launched a $50 million a year campaign, and then they lobbied 40 states to mandate that symbol. The gap between what they knew and what they told you is not only decades wide, but the false dichotomy is just. Actually, I don't know if that's the right word there. I don't know if that's the right phrase. But the irony of the situation is definitely measurable. You can almost taste it. Now, going back into that really cool segue I had earlier about how California, of all places, is actually looking into this. This is super cool, in my opinion. This is from Grist. I don't know anything about this company besides the fact that it's a .org, so I trust it at least a little bit, but a quote from them. Another promising legal push is coming from the California Attorney General Rob Bonta, who has been investigating fossil fuel and chemical companies for what he called, quote, an aggressive campaign to deceive the public, perpetuating a myth that recycling can solve the plastics crisis, end quote. Despite mounting awareness of plastic's threat to public health, oil and chemical companies around the world make 400 million metric tons of the polymer every year. Guys, that's, again, just a reminder, that's 400 million times 2,000, right? That's not 400 million pounds. I wish it was. That'd be cool. Fuck, that's a lot, dude. And production is on track to triple by 2060. So that's great. It's the oil industry's backup business plan and the expectation that wealthy countries will actually shift away from gasoline in an effort to tackle climate change. Since petroleum, as you guys already probably know, it's actually the building block of plastics. Most everything with plastic is made from oil, the big oil industry. So to reiterate that at least a little bit, it's going to triple in 34 years, by 34 years. And the big oil companies, the Exxon Mobils, the BPs, all of these guys, it's their backup plan, bro. It's their freaking backup plan. Instead of them just investing in the energy, I don't get it. I really don't get it. I'm kind of like, my skin's getting all red because I'm stressed out. Instead, I don't know. Why doesn't the oil industry just invest into the green industry? Am I the only guy that's ever asked that question? Why haven't they ever pivoted? Ross from Friends, can I get a pivot? Can you toss me a couch? Why haven't they pivoted, dude? That doesn't make sense. These guys are trillion-dollar industries. You don't think they could make a simple pivot into a green energy plan? Dude, that doesn't translate. That does not translate. I'm getting so tired of this crap. They're not pivoting to recycling. They're pivoting to plastic, dude. Because plastic is made from oil. That's their easy thing. They're going to just stick on that until there's no more oil. If you believe that recycling handles the plastic problem, you're going to keep buying plastic. So that's their whole game. The same companies that brought you climate denial are now bringing you recycling advocacy. Reminder, right? These are the groups that during the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, they said, oh no, there's not a problem with the climate. Oh no, the ozone layer doesn't even exist, right? That's what they said for a long time. And then they said it existed. And not only did it exist, they didn't mess it up, we messed it up, and now we got it. Dude, you see? I had to take a break from the current events because this topic actually pisses me off more than anything that's going on currently. Because it's gone on for decades, right? Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk, but that's only gone on for 7 months, right? I told you at the start of this episode, I was doing diagrams as a kid, coloring in my colored pencils, reduce, reuse, recycle. If I just do this, I'll do my part, and the whole world will be better, and nobody will be at war, and we'll just all make the world a better place. The only thing they care about is one thing. Keep you buying, keep you feeling okay about it, keep the regulation away. Keep. That's the only thing they care about. They want to keep you enslaved. I shouldn't have said that's the only thing they want. You know what I meant. It was focusing on the word keep, but last episodes I shaved the nose hairs midstream, and they're doing better, but dude, they're growing in, so now they're sharp. You never win. It's either they're long and they're tickling, or they're short and they're tickling. So basically, I just need to be bald. That'll fix it. Now here's chapter 5, because I don't want to leave you guys with an outro that's super negative and nihilistic and just negative, right? We're going to pull up salon.com. It's a rag. Not everybody likes this company. That's fine. But let's pull them up. 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 This is salon.com. Now, this is what the experts say actually works. If you want to read the whole article, feel free. But I'm just going to summarize those notes, right? Aluminum. This is genuinely recyclable. So if you guys are giving me grief about my beers, I'm actually doing my part. No, it's infinitely recyclable. Aluminum. I mean, you can literally take anything from a can to an engine, melt it down, and reuse it. From anything to a can to an engine. You could take an engine, turn it into a can, take a bunch of cans, turn it into an engine. You can do a million things with aluminum. And if you're British and watching this, dude, there's not a second I in aluminum. You guys need to enunciate your words better. Please. I said that. I know. My peers in America enunciate terribly. Downright horrifically. I think I enunciated a word incorrectly earlier in this episode, and I'm not going to say it because I'm feeling guilty about it. And if you remember what it was, comment it. Because if you did, shit. But you Brits, there's not a second I in aluminum. Stop. You guys just made that up. Literally. Now, recycling aluminum uses 95% less energy than making new aluminum. So this one is real. In my take, everything that's single-use plastic should be single-use aluminum. Liquid Death, great company doing the right thing in my opinion. Liquid Death, you guys know them. They're the cool little bottled, or not bottled, that's the whole premise actually, canned water. And they don't do plastic, they just do canned water. And it's a cool gimmick too, because they did it's like tough guy water, you know? Like, oh, you're not a bottled water, you're drinking out of a can, you know? But anyways, they're the good guys. They're the good guys. Dasani and freaking Aquafina and freaking Kirkland Water Brand and you know, all these guys, dude, they're not doing it right. Aluminum cans fix a lot of problems. They fix a lot of problems. Next we have is glass. It is recyclable, but it's heavy. Transportation costs, they typically outweigh the benefits in rural areas. So if you're in a big city, you can get your milk in a glass, right? Which, by the way, y'all rural folks that grew up on a farm, y'all had milk in a glass and y'all know it's good. Or y'all had milk that comes in the glass and y'all know it's good. I have not. Not fresh, at least. I haven't had it fresh. I've had bottled milk, but I haven't had it fresh. There's a difference. Y'all know. But if you live in the city, you can get your glass. That's how it should be. Paper and cardboard is the next one. Now, this mostly works with a caveat. When it's not contaminated with food or grease. So never, right? The only one paper and cardboard would work with is like literal newspaper. And actually, I don't even think newspaper is recyclable because it's so thin. I don't know if you can. Can you? I don't know. I act like I don't have the whole internet right in front of me. So curious now. There you go. Okay, so you can recycle newspaper. You can recycle newspaper. Cool. But virtually everything else is cardboard. I mean, your Amazon boxes, and that's about it. But if your pizza, your pasta, I'm struggling to think, but all of that stuff is not recyclable. So that's not good. And then we have that plastic number 1 and plastic number 2 on that big triangle label. So if you see the 1 or if you see the 2, that's okay. Soda bottles, your milk jugs. These are the only plastics worth recycling in the US right now. But these still require to be hand washed and dried. Are you doing that currently? Honest assessment with yourself. I'm not. I know I need to, but I'm not. And I'll at least be humble and honest enough to admit it. And one thing you guys will find out about me, I'm not really capable of a lie. Tried it a little bit when I was a kid. Got my ass spanked a lot. Wasn't a very good liar. I wrote it right on my forehead. I'm lying, mama. Beat my ass. And yeah. My mom didn't beat my ass, by the way. She spanked me, but that was it. Nobody beat my ass. Now, everything else is probably going to a landfill regardless of which bin you use. So I'm paying for 2 bins every month, as are most homeowners here. Now, what the experts say to do outside of this, they say reduce first, reuse second, recycle last. Yep, we did hear those things when we were young, but only what actually gets recycled. Stop wish cycling, putting things in the bin hoping that they'll get recycled. It contaminates entire loads, making everything near it unrecyclable. The next thing you can do is contact your local waste management to find out exactly which numbers they actually process. It varies by city. You can literally ask them 1 through 7. The most effective environmental action you can take is not buying single-use plastic in the first place. Be aware. If you're going to buy bottled water, buy canned water. Don't buy bottled water. My wife and I, the second we bought a house, the second we stopped doing, buy bottled water. We have a filter in our freaking fridge. Why would we not use our freaking filtered fridge refreshments? Oh, come on. Yeah, man, you got to do that. A lot of stuff you got to do. The experts are telling us the answer is to buy less stuff. The corporations are telling us to sort our trash better. One of those answers requires you to spend less money on their products. Just something to notice. Now, you guys know me. I'm a conspiracy theorist, so I don't really trust the experts necessarily, but I definitely trust them more than the corporations who are spending their entire ad revenue gaslighting us, and it's saying that we're the bad guy, even though we're buying their product. We pay their bills. Okay. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and the packaging industry created Keep America Beautiful 73 years ago to stop one state from banning their bottles. They invented the concept of the litter bug to shift blame from corporations to individuals. They funded the most watched ad in history with a fake Native American to make you feel personally responsible for their pollution. They created the recycling symbol, lobbied it into law in 36 states, and knew 33 years ago that it was causing, quote, unrealistic expectations. Their own documents from the 70s showed that they knew this was economically infeasible, and they spent $50 million a year to tell you that it worked anyway. The entire system was outsourced to China, and then they stopped. Over 70 major cities ended the recycling programs virtually overnight in retrospect. Only 9% of all of your plastic ever produced or produced nearby you has ever been recycled. Ever in the history of the world. The California Attorney General is now investigating it as consumer fraud. Okay, now ExxonMobil, who I told you guys about earlier, they're the ones who helped build the recycling myth. Right. They're the largest plastic producer in the world. So you didn't fail recycling. Recycling failed you, and it was designed to. That bin in your kitchen, that was not anything more than a permission slip. It tells you it's okay to buy more plastic because the cycle closes. The cycle never closed. It was never meant to. So I'm going to leave you with one final question today. If the most successful environmental campaign in human history was actually a corporate lobbying operation, what else are we doing right now that's going to look exactly like this in 30 years?